Sorry, we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but now we're good. Okay, what do we got? This is what we're talking about this time. If we had a longer podcast, what we're talking, which we are talking about doing, whatever it is, it's a live, a podcast, whatever you want to call it. It's people, we're gonna think about, once in a while having a guest, but most of the time it'll just be us two talking about very relevant, very relevant topics. Um, and a very relevant topic we're going to talk about today is um, this weekend um, I went to a unbelievable seminar. It's called the Sheepdog Response, and it was created by Tim Kennedy. So it's kind of legit when it's put on by someone like Tim Kennedy, if you know what I mean. So he went he has these seminars. He does 307 seminars a year. They're all different kinds. Some of them are like the one I went to was a 3 day seminar, but he has 1 day seminars, 2 day seminars. He has a lot of seminars. He had 300 seminars last year. So anyway, it was fantastic. Probably the best seminar I've ever been to, and it was all about self defense, real life self defense. So, no little, grab your wrist and oh, I got a wrist grab here. I'm gonna do a wrist lock. His was real. Somebody's attacking you on the street. What to do? From hands on to ground to mount to chokes to knife attacks to all the way to guns. So during this 3 day seminar, we fired 400 rounds each. So basically, there's a lot of shooting. It's about half uh, half in the gym and half on the range. And even on the range, the instructors were so good. There was four instructors, and they all had military backgrounds. And I think they were all jujitsu, belts pretty high, and they were self defense guys. And it was an incredible seminar. We learned so much, and we had so much fun, and it was fantastic. It was like it's what the world needs, or what our country needs right now. Well, your country too, over there in Japan, but whatever. I mean, what it was. It was just the kind of thing. It was the kind of thing that everybody should take. It should be mandatory, right? I mean, it's mandatory to fucking learn how to, drive a car, right? Mandatory to learn and get licensed and all that. Why the fuck isn't it? Why isn't it mandatory that you can defend your own family when you get married or when you have kids? Probably both. You should have to take some kind of test that you can protect these people, if they're ever attacked. Because I mean, the things you got to get licensed and permitted are just to fill the government's pockets. But why isn't something like this mandatory? It is. It's probably one of the, I don't know, two or three most important things that anyone learns in the whole world. I mean, everybody that's a martial artist knows that, but nobody has to be able to protect their kids. So you can have kids and be such a beta you can't even protect your own kids. Isn't that? I mean, how does that make sense? You should not be able to have kids unless you can fucking defend them. And I say the same for a wife. You shouldn't be able to get married unless you can defend your wife. So it should be mandatory. I'm saying it right now. It should be mandatory that you train martial arts and you're proficient before you get married, or else you shouldn't be able to get a license. I'm going to say that right now, and I mean it. But anyway, True, true, true. It's true. You can't argue the point. You can't argue it. Try to argue it. Okay, argue with me at this point. Give me play devil's advocate.
Here we go. Ready?
Play devil. Yeah,
All
play
right.
devil's advocate.
So, in a modern society, they would
Yeah.
say that because someone can, in a civil modern society,
Where's that? Is that over
people.
in Japan? Because it's not here. So
Yeah.
where? Okay, so you're saying
Hey,
in okay,
you said play devil's advocate. Give me at least 30
but
seconds to get this out. So you can
but
tear it
you
apart all
already
you want.
started off wrong because in the premise you're saying in a civilized community, or we're not in one. We're in basically we're in Biden's chaos. That's what we're in right now. So there's no civility. But okay, say we're in the say we're in this environment that we're in America right now. Go ahead,
Okay.
devil's advocate.
So, devil's advocate from an American standpoint. From an
Yeah,
American standpoint, then let's say that you can always rely on. Well, I guess there's two points here, and I guess it depends on what you're defining as self-defense. A lot of Americans
yeah,
feel that self-defense might actually be using a weapon and not using
yeah.
hand-to-hand combat. Like they'll skip step one, they'll jump to step two, and just say, "Hey, if
Okay.
I have a gun, I don't need to take a self-defense course. I don't need to go to a gun range. All I gotta know is how to operate a gun, how to
Yeah,
not shoot myself, and I can do that on my own. I don't need to go to a
yeah,
self-defense
yeah,
and learn how to punch and learn how to kick. I just need to know how to shoot, and that's it.
yeah.
And I don't need all that other stuff because I have a job and a
Okay,
9 to 5, and I
and
don't
that's
have time.
important. Yeah, I see
So,
that. Okay. So now all of a sudden you're at the fucking airport and somebody goes crazy on you and you're reaching for your waistband, but guess what? You couldn't bring your gun with you because you're at the fucking airport or you go somewhere else. Or somebody comes up behind you and fucking whacks you and you turn around and you start to go for your gun, but you don't want to do self defense training because you're a fucking beta. So the guy takes the fucking gun away from you, shoots you in the head, then shoots all your kids. So yeah, I mean it's great if you can use a gun, and I think that's a good equalizer. But just like in your karate, right? To learn the higher techniques, you should learn the lower techniques first, right? The foundation. The foundation, hand to hand, is the foundation, and without it, no matter with a knife or a gun, you are a weak warrior. You have to have the basics of the foundation laid out first. So I think they did that very well at this seminar. And obviously I'm much more I'm foundation heavy. Some people are, maybe gun heavy, but they know enough on the foundation to defend themselves. Some people are about in the middle, 50-50. Probably guys like Tim Kennedy, he's 50-50. I'm probably 80-20 foundation so I'm definitely going to do more gun training, but every man on this planet, if they don't learn how to defend their family, it's just a disgrace. It's despicable. Shame on them. They're a beta.
but what if I'm a scholar and I don't have time for all that? I'm just going to avoid the areas that are dangerous. I can
This
call the
sounds good.
police, and I can run. I can learn how to run, and I'm going to run anytime there's any trouble. I'm gonna live in a gated community, and if I see anybody suspicious, I'm gonna pull. I should see. I'm already tearing apart my own argument. I'm going to call the police because that's what good citizens do, and and I'm not going to be violent. Um,
you,
and
you're
I'm
just
going
gonna
to
stay
avoid,
home
and
in a
I'm just going
bubble.
to
In a
stay
bubble.
home. I'm going to stay
Stay
home.
home in a
If I
bubble.
go
Yeah.
out, I'll only go out to my college. I work. If I work at a college campus, I'll only stay on campus, and I always call campus security to escort me from my car to my
Yeah.
classroom. I'm trying to say
And
this with
then
a straight face.
when your kid gets attacked in front of you, you'll call 911 and you'll wait the 45-minute response time so the police can help you. I know
But
it's
statistically speaking, violence doesn't happen that often around me anyway. That's the stuff I see on the
yeah.
news. That doesn't happen to me or my family. I mean,
Then
and
those
it's like
people
five
shouldn't train.
percent.
They shouldn't have to.
It's like 5% of the population that I don't belong to. So why should I care?
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. And if you're in that kind of population, you shouldn't. And if it happens to you, bye bye. But the first part is like, where are the wives out there that if their husband doesn't train and can't protect them, what kind of wife must this person have? It's like what does she look at her man and say, "Oh, my protector"? I mean, but what is somebody that's married to a beta? What do they look at him and go, "Oh, my what?" You know what I mean? So there's so many
Baby,
reasons to,
you
and
know.
almost none not to, and I don't know why it's not more of a mandatory thing when we're learning algebra in school, but not how to defend yourself. I mean, it's kind of funny in a way. It's stupid but funny at the same time. Kind of like you ever know that person? Some of them are just stupid and funny at the same time. That's what that is. Not having to train and not being made to train is. But you do have to have a permit to open a business. You have to have a permit, but you don't have to have a permit to be a parent, basically. I don't know. I don't know.
But
But
I
anyway,
mean,
this seminar, what?
if I make money though, you were saying what kind of person is she married to? But I mean, I make plenty of money, and I work hard. I went to school, and I provide for my family. So I make plenty of money. She didn't marry me because of my muscles. She married me because she gets to drive a Mercedes. I mean, like
But if you have
that's
the
why she married me.
if you can't take but you can't take care of your family if you can't first physically defend them. Having taking care of them financially is great, but if you can't physically take care of them, when the shit hits the fan, which it will someday, then all the money in the world, I mean, it'll buy you as much protection as humanly possible. But at the end of the day, bye bye, bye bye. That's what I'm gonna say. Bye bye. But
So
anyway, so
go-
what?
going back to the seminar, what kind? So you said you covered some gun training. What
Yeah,
kind other kind of situations do you cover?
we did like we did positional stuff. Like somebody gets on top of you, somebody mount escapes. We practice some guard stuff. Um, We even practiced some guard passing, which I thought was interesting. But the guys there were really good, but they were they were they were jujitsu heavy on their self defense. So it wasn't like striking heavy. They were more jujitsu heavy, but it was a version of street jujitsu, which is it's kind of weird because it's a sport. But I mean, it is. There are a lot of just like boxing would have a lot of very valuable and relevant techniques for the street. So does jujitsu. But at the end of the day, jujitsu and boxing is a sport, and there's too many rules and stuff. So that's what kind of hinders it from being really successful as of being a self defense system. The same would be with wrestling. I mean, if you're a freestyle wrestler, you could be really good in a street fight with your takedowns and stuff. If but it's still a sport, and there's still rules, and it's not made for the street. So so there was a lot of that, but if a guy's really good, he could make it work more in the street. Just like if a boxer's really good, he could make it work in the street. You could talk about if he fought a guy that wanted to take him down, maybe he's that good at boxing, he'll knock him out before he takes him down. And then the wrestler could say, well, I'll just take him down, but then what if he might be able to take the guy down before he gets knocked out? So it's a game of chance then, but I say you have to learn both. So
Well, I mean,
anyway,
I think what happens with boxing, jujitsu, wrestling, um, these three martial arts have a lot of live training, right? A
yeah,
lot of resistance, live. training. So we can always argue, the striker or the grappler could do this or do that, as far as stylistic advantages, but their training modalities is what I think
Yeah,
makes them so strong. Because these guys are constantly every week having to test it. I mean, jujitsu.
yeah,
There's no way I can't sit here and do a solo practice of jujitsu. Jujitsu will always be practiced with another person resisting me. So they
yeah.
get really good at dealing with someone resisting them. So their techniques might have holes in it, but they're really good at what they do because of the live drilling
Right, but the resistance
and
always
fun.
comes. The resistance of the drilling and the rolling always comes in the way of grappling techniques. Like when you're shrimping and your hands are on the guy's leg trying to shrimp out, your face is completely open, but they don't drill that because in jiu-jitsu they don't have to. So there's a lot of holes in that game. Like when you're passing a guard, a lot of times you're going to expose your face while you're trying to pass. Same with side control. There's a lot of techniques that they're drilling and drilling and drilling, but some of them will leave them open, just like in the striking sport, a lot of their techniques are going to leave them open for the takedown. So when no matter how good they get, and they're drilling this technique or that technique, and they do have to drill them, they're not taking into account the guy out there is going to punch him in the face, just like the guy out there is going to take the boxer down. So all his training, I mean, he's lost as soon as somebody puts their hands on his hips, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how I feel about that. And I think if you're jujitsu heavy, but I'm gonna think of a word for it, like a slogan. Like you could be jujitsu heavy, but then you should be striking. So jujitsu could be your major, but then you should have striking as a minor,
Minor. Yeah.
or
You should have
or
striking as a
you're
minor.
gonna
Good.
or you're
Yeah.
gonna get knocked out. And if you're a striker, you could have be a striker major, but you should have grappling as a minor. Anyway, do you have
Yeah.
any comments?
So far, earlier when I was doing the devil's advocate for the gun, Robert Essel commented, "Kajikembo builds warrior spirit, not but gun training does not." So when I was arguing that you
Uh,
don't need to do
uh,
martial
let me
arts,
let me. I disagree. I disagree. I think it's all about the instructor, because these instructors that were at this course, the way they taught was reminded me of my army days, and some of my martial arts days. They were talking about real life situations. Bada bang, somebody's trying to take your life from you. It's a warrior. It's not an unarmed warrior, but I mean, this is when it gets down to you need the gun. So I disagree with that. Well, I mean, I'm not disagreeing that he experienced that, but I'm telling you right now, the course I went to this weekend, when we were on the range or in the gym, both times I felt equally that I was being taught with a warrior's mentality. Yeah, they had no, it was no, nonsense. It was all about being attacked and being the warrior. So yeah, I think that depends on the instructor.
and then Robert commented, "You don't take blows in gun training." LOL.
Yeah, you don't, but you don't in wrestling either. But wrestling, you can be a warrior in wrestling. So, um, it doesn't have to be. You don't have to take punches. I mean, jujitsu, you can say that a lot of them have a warrior's mentality, or yeah, you don't have to get punched in the face to be a warrior. But usually, a warrior is going to get punched in the face. That's
And
it.
then Hugo G, we're gonna answer your question at the end of our live here. So we're at 20 minutes. So at the end of every show, 5 minutes at the end, we'll ask questions. Any questions. So right now the
Yeah.
topic is gun training. But we will get back to your question, Hugo. Don't worry. Um, Jesse says gun training is also important. You should be a warrior with every tool.
That's
Um,
right.
Robert Hensel says, "Well, what about cross faces in wrestling? That can get kind of rough too.
The
You
different the
crossface someone."
difference the difference with the crossface, and a lot of times why it doesn't work, in wrestling or even in MMA is because bearing the chin and neck strength and stuff like that. So that could be a very useful technique, and most wrestlers have it down. But say there's two guys 50-50, of wrestling and striking. When you go for a cross face, guess what? In the street, there are no rules, right? I have to teach my guys how to do it for MMA, but in the street, there's a couple eyes right there. I mean, your fingers can go into that eye during the cross face, and it's a lot more effective. Let me tell you, they're going to turn their head a lot quicker. Anyway, that's my cross face thing.
So, more devil's advocate. But again, I was looking at some statistics here, and it says that the chances of me being attacked are 1 in 14 in a bad city and 1 in 943 in a good city. So if I live in a nice city, the chances are really like we're talking like really 1% in a bad city, and then like 0.00000000002 in a good city.
That's that's great. I mean, but now you think of the statistics of any kind. All just start putting the different illnesses and then the accidents that you could have. Like a lot of car accident. I bet your accident, but you're going to put your seatbelt on, right? You get a car with a what do you call it, air balloon because I mean a airbag, but what are the chances you're going to need it? When you go on a plane, what's the chances of needing the seatbelts and the oxygen? But you still have it, right? Just because you don't, you might not need something. I mean, you should provide it. You provide, things for your family, that they might not need, but you just do it because it's the right thing to do. That's
So
it.
Joe Raymond Manglona asks, "Do you have any recommendations for guns for self-defense? Anything specific?"
Yeah, no, I'm not. I am not the expert when it comes to the gun. I have a Springfield Arms and I have a M&P Shield, which is a Smith and Wesson. Those are my two carry guns, and then I have a Mossberg shotgun, 12 gauge. But I'm not an expert on them. Everybody I talk to at that range, they say the Glocks are the best brand. The Glock. So I don't have a Glock. I have a Springfield Arms and a Smith and Wesson. But most of the law enforcement guys I know and gun enthusiasts always favor the Glock. So that's all I can say about that. I have no knowledge on it.
All right, all right, fair enough. So we are getting to that section of our live where we're gonna open it up to any question. Starting with going back to Hugo G. How do you craft your fitness WODs, Coach John? How long are your fitness classes usually?
A fitness class is 45 minutes, and then the fitness portion of our belt class, which is there's a WOD in each one of my classes, whether that be Hawaiian Kempo or CrossFit. And CrossFit, that's all they do, right? And then with us, we do, our teaching, our drilling, our sparring, our bag work. And a lot of times, bag work is part of our WOD, and sometimes we do the bag work more for power or technique, but a lot of times I add it to my conditioning. Like I'll give you an example. We'll do 30 and 30 burpees for 7 minutes. So they'll go 30-second burpees and then 30-second bag, 30-second burpee, 30-second bag. Do that for 7 minutes, you're dead. um, or we'll do a burpee line where Tabata line. So Tabata is 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and they rotate every time. One guy's doing squats, one guy's doing push-ups, one guy's doing sprawls, the other guy is sprinting on the bag, and 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off. Then they switch and they just keep rotating for 15, 16 minutes or so. And so I combine a CrossFit type structure in my workouts a lot. We don't do a lot of weights. We don't do overhead stuff, but we combine it with our striking, our kicking, our grappling. I'll tell you another one right now, which has been around. Chuck was doing it for all his fights. We call it rowing and wrestling, R&R, and we row for a Tabata, right? So you go 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, as hard as you can pull, 2 minutes on the rower, and then 2 minutes on the mat. And on the mat, you start in the being mounted. So you're exhausted and you get on the mat. You just got done, you just got done rowing for 2 minutes. Now you got to go wrestle for 2 minutes or so, and that really tires people out, rowing and wrestling. So we have those kind of. Our WODs usually include some type of martial arts, striking or grappling or some kind of martial art technique with a heavy duty calisthenic like burpees, 8 counts, etc. That's how we do it.
All right. So there you go, Hugo. Hugo. Jesse says Glocks are great. If anybody has any other open questions, throw them out now. I
Throw
got
them
a question for
on.
you, John. This
Yeah.
this last weekend, I had an in-house tournament with the kids, and they came in. We
Yeah.
did some of the sumo wrestling. We did an obstacle course. We did a
Yeah.
hanging competition. They had a
Oh,
great time. I got some trophies, some like small trophies for the first, second, third. We did a whole gold, silver, bronze thing. They had a great time. My question
yeah.
was, what kind of, because I avoided doing any type of kickboxing or sparring because I had some beginners in there. What kind of
Yeah.
sparring do you recommend for kids?
Sparring or for a tournament?
For kids. Let's say sparring for a tournament for elementary school students.
Okay, so sparring for the tournament and the tournament itself is very different.
Okay, so let's break this into two then. For a kids tournament, for a children's
Right.
tournament, what would you recommend?
Okay, so what I do is they have a grappling division where they just grapple. There's a sumo where they just sumo. That's for the smaller kids, like up to like maybe 8 or 9. And then once they get 8 or 9 or 10 or 11 or 12, then they can do the grappling or they can do the Hawaiian Kempo division. The Hawaiian Kempo division is um, it's 1 round or two. It's either 1 2 minute rounds or two 1 minute rounds. Depends on what we feel like doing that day. But just say it's a 2 minute round, and um, they're going to wear big gloves, 14-ounce gloves. They wear shin pads, and basically they can do whatever the hell they want for the 2 minutes. So they can punch and they can take the guy down. Um, we'll tell them to lighten up on the head or lighten up on this or lighten up. But when the instructions are just try to score as many points as you can. You can if you take the guy down, try to get a good position. You can just pound away. We're going to stop it. We're right there, so we stop it right away, but I want them to get out there and do whatever they want to do. They want to either keep it standing or they want to take the guy down. And to do that, you know, they're going to use striking. So I put bigger gloves on them, so I just let them go, and then, we tell them, going in, you're not trying to hurt each other, you're trying to score points. But with that said, I want you to try to score points. And to try to control it to the face, it just doesn't work. So I just let them
Yeah.
go. And we don't have any injuries because I'll stop it right away. Like as soon as it
And,
hits the ground and the guy postures up, I stop it. And if
and
the guy's hitting the guy in the
ages
face,
9, and that's ages 9 and up.
no, it's like I had an 8 year old this one, but it's not
Okay.
as much the number as it is the student. Like I might have a 8 year old that's really tiny and immature, so I wouldn't let him, and I might have an 8 year old that's bigger than the 10 year old. I'm going to let him. So
Oh,
to me, age is just it's just a recommendation. You know what I mean?
okay.
So that's what we
So
do.
so the older kids, kids that are ready, you do more of an open sparring. The kids that are younger, you do
Open.
like a sumo sparring.
Then
Yeah.
they can do grappling and sumo. The guys
Okay.
that want to do it, I'm saying I put videos up of the kids sparring before, right?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen that.
And that was the tournament, and that was the last tournament we had. And they went, oh my god, these guys. We had a really rambunctious 4 or 5 kids that just went at it, and one kid ended up winning the whole thing. But I was proud. I was so proud of them. They went at it. So that's what we do.
So, I don't know. We're going over time, but Hugh, if you can answer this, uh, Hugo, Hugo wants to ask, awesome. How do you break down a 45-minute? How do you break down your 45 minutes for your fitness class?
Every class is so different. I mean, usually when I do it, and everybody's different, there's no way right or wrong way, is I usually do a 15-minute warm up, which includes a lot of uh, fitness movements, but I consider it the warm up. And then they usually start off with bag work. So the bag work can be just, bag lines, everybody's on a bag punching, getting a workout, but it's on the bag. And then from there, we stay on the bag and then start doing calisthenics and bag. Or after the bag, I'll do something like, like 7 minutes of burpees. Or I could do like, sometimes we'll do sledge. We'll do, like 5 minutes of sledge and then 5 minutes of airdyne bike, which is this bike, like these. So we'll do that. Or sometimes they go on the rowers and then they'll do like 1,000 meters of the rower and then 3 minutes of burpees. I just put things together um, where I feel like they need it the most that day. And then usually the workout will be anywhere from I'll say 10 minutes to 20 minutes. And that'll be just the specific workout part. So um, that's pretty much my regular classes. Fight team isn't too different, except for I push them a little bit harder on um, some of the workouts, just because because they're fighting soon. So the you could say, I could say I should push my regular students that hard too, because they might have to fight for their life, right? But with that said, the people that join don't really want to go that hard. So I push them as hard as I feel like I can without hurting them or losing them. And the fight team is usually younger and they're more athletic and they want to do that. So I push them a little bit harder. And the Hawaii Kempo guys, I push them to a different limit, but they're professionals, most of them, and they have full time jobs with kids, and they just they're not going to stick around. It's not sustainable to try to push them quite as hard as you do your fight team. I think I do more than most schools. I really do think I push my students harder physically than I would say 99% of the schools I've ever been in, but not quite as hard as my fight team.
And then Hugo also asks, what age groups are you talking about for your kids' classes? How do you split the age groups in your kids' classes?
We have a 3 to 5 year old peewees, and then like 6 and 7 year old level one, and like 8 and 9 year old level two, and then like you know 10 and 11 or 12 year old level three, and then usually a third. Then we have a teenage class, and then they go right to adult from there. But our first class is 3 to 5. That's peewees.
And then our final comment, how many minutes of kata?
Oh my god, do people fucking still do that? Oh my god, I hope
They're
not.
messing with you. Know.
I
Jesse's been
know.
around long enough to know that he's trying to rile you up because he knows we're trying to go, so he's trying to rile you up before we go.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, we
What are
want
you
to
looking
thank
for?
everyone for coming on. Weekly lives are now at 4:45, and
And we're
stay
and we're
tuned.
tell them we're going 44, 45, but we're looking to go big. I'm just saying, watch out, Joe Rogan. I love Joe Rogan, but we're gonna be there with him. You know what I mean? Going up there, we're gonna be up there soon. So
And then for
we're
those of
starting to
you
we're
who
starting
want
to
to
pitch it up.
train,
The pit.tv.
thepit.tv.
The
Thepit.tv.
pit.tv.
Pit.tv. There are online
That's it.
classes available. You can audit a class. You can join the class and actually go through the system, or You can also order the class if you want to see what
You
they're doing.
can
It's
you can go you can
very
go
affordable.
you can
In New
earn
York.
if you're good enough, you can earn belts all the way up to all the way up to black belt if you so desire and you're willing to push like my guys, um, or you can audit the class and just learn all the techniques and just be a stud. You know what I mean? Just be attack yourself or your family, shit like that. I mean, what else are you gonna do if you don't train? Like, what if a guy shoves you in a bar and you have to light him up because maybe he shoved your wife? You gonna pull a gun and shoot him? I mean, you're gonna die. You're going to jail then, and then your wife will fuck the guy that pushed her while you're in jail. So you don't want to go to jail. But I mean, sometimes you just got to put your hands on someone, and sometimes you just got to get violent. I mean, violence isn't a bad thing. Evil violence is, but good violence isn't, right? I mean, we need it, don't we?
Yeah, and I'm still just trying to think. I'd have bigger problems if my wife is fucking other guys. I wouldn't want to marry someone like that. But either way,
You wouldn't want to. You wouldn't want to, but
I'd
guess
marry
what?
someone like
Nobody wants to, but 50% of the guys out there did. I'm just
that.
saying.
Oh man, I'm
Most,
sorry for
I
those
say
guys.
that's a good one. Listen, 100% of the guys out there didn't want to marry someone like that, but 50% of them did.
This is some
Say,
awesome.
send me this video when we're done with this. Can you send me this video?
This one you gotta download off YouTube from your site because we didn't do it
Okay,
on
well,
Zoom.
this is a good
Yeah,
one
yeah,
right
yeah.
here.
That was a good line. That was a good line. I got my disclaimer. We didn't check those statistics, but I do like it. I think they're true. Well, guys, Kempo Kata is badass. I want to be like Elvis is Brian. Guitars rock forever. If your wife would do that, she is a table show. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Every
guess
week,
what? We didn't know that going in. We find that out going out.
every week, 4:45. Today's special surprise guest, the Bob Doll. We will see you next week with a new topic. Catch you later.
See you later, guys.